"Don't hurt me, I fainted, everything is spinning," said the CEO. The single dad was incredible. Emily Harrison had always controlled everything in her life. At 32, she ran one of the largest tech companies in the southern United States, made decisions that affected hundreds of employees, and never showed weakness. Until that Thursday night, when her body simply stopped obeying. The rain was pouring down on Denver when she stumbled out of the commercial building. She had just discovered something terrible in the documents she was reviewing alone in her office. Someone was embezzling company funds, and the clues pointed to people very close to her. Her heart raced, her vision blurred, and before she could ask for help, her legs gave way. "Daddy, that lady fell." A child's high-pitched voice cut through the night. Michael Sullivan was walking hurriedly with his two daughters, trying to get home before the rain worsened. He worked late as the janitor of the adjacent commercial building and picked up Emma and Lily from the neighbor's house where they were cared for. When he heard his older daughters shout, he turned and saw a woman in a red suit collapsing on the wet sidewalk. "Stay there, girls," he ordered, running to the stranger. Emily was semi-conscious, trembling. When she felt hands touching her, she panicked. "Don't hurt me, I fainted. Everything is spinning," she murmured, gripping Michael's arm tightly. "Easy, lady, I just want to help. Did you hit your head?" Michael spoke in a soft tone, kneeling beside her. The two girls approached, frightened. Emma, 6 years old, held her 4-year-old sister Lily's hand firmly. "Is she hurt, Daddy?" Emma asked with wide eyes. "I don't know yet, honey. Can you help me? Get that water bottle from my backpack." Emily blinked several times, trying to focus. She saw a man with copper-red hair and a scruffy beard, dressed in simple work clothes. Two small children watched him with concern. The younger one had light hair and wore a yellow coat, while the other, in an orange shirt, was already running back with a bottle. "Here, Daddy." Michael opened the bottle and offered it to Emily, who took a sip with difficulty. She was still dizzy but starting to regain consciousness. "Do you want me to call an ambulance?" he asked. "No," Emily replied too quickly. "No need. I just need a minute." She couldn't cause a scene. She couldn't show weakness. If anyone from the company found out she had fainted on the street, they would use it against her, especially now, when she needed to be stronger than ever. "Are you sure? You fell hard." Michael didn't seem convinced. "I said no need." The sharpness returned to Emily's voice, an automatic shield against vulnerability. Michael stepped back a little but didn't move away. Emily tried to get up on her own and almost fell again. He held her by the arm, firm but gentle. "Let me at least help you sit up properly. These sidewalks are full of puddles." Emily reluctantly agreed. When she finally managed to sit, leaning against the building wall, she realized her bag wasn't with her. The expensive Italian leather briefcase she carried everywhere. Inside it were the confidential documents she had been reviewing, evidence of the money embezzlement. "My bag! Where's my bag?" Panic returned to her voice. "Easy. It must have fallen around here." Michael looked around, but the rain made visibility difficult. "You need to find it. There are important things in there." Emily tried to stand up again, unsuccessfully. "Lady, you can barely stand. Let me look for it." Michael turned to his daughters. "Girls, help me find the lady's bag. It should be a big bag, and—" He looked at Emily questioningly. "Dark brown, leather, with gold buckles." She described, fighting back tears of frustration. The three began searching along the wet sidewalk. Emily watched them, feeling helpless. She hated relying on other people. She had always handled everything herself since taking over the company 5 years ago, after her father's early departure. "Daddy, I found it!" Lily shouted, pointing near a large puddle. The purse was tossed a few feet away, partially covered by rainwater. Michael ran over and carefully picked it up, shaking off the excess water. He returned to Emily and held out the purse. She quickly opened it, checking the contents. The documents were there, a bit damp but still readable. The cell phone, the wallet, everything intact. She sighed in relief and closed the purse, hugging it to her chest. "Thank you," she murmured, almost inaudible. "You're welcome. Now let's get you somewhere dry." "Do you live around here?" Michael asked. None of your business. The sharpness returned automatically. Michael sighed and stepped back a little, clearly hurt by the rudeness. The girls looked at him, not understanding. All right, if you don't want help, we'll go. Just take care of that head, okay? He took his daughter's hands and started to walk away. Emily watched them disappear into the rain and felt something strange in her chest. That man had stopped what he was doing, with 2 small children on a rainy night to help a stranger, and all she could do was be rude in return. "Wait!" she called out, before she could stop herself. Michael stopped and looked back. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be rude. It's just that Emily didn't know how to explain without revealing too much. "Thank you, really. Truly." He nodded, a half-smile appearing on his tired face. "It's okay. Just take care of your health, lady. Fainting is no joke." They left, vanishing into the rain and darkness. Emily sat there for a few more minutes, regaining her strength. When she finally managed to stand up and hail a taxi, she couldn't stop thinking about the red-haired man with kind eyes and the 2 girls who looked at him with adoration. That night, in her luxurious apartment in the Cherry Creek neighborhood, Emily reviewed the documents again. The numbers didn't lie. Someone was siphoning off significant amounts, and the transactions had signatures she knew well. Her younger brother, Brandon Harrison, the company's vice president, was involved up to his neck. Her heart tightened. Brandon was the only brother she had, the spoiled youngest she had always protected. How could he do this? She picked up her phone to confront him, but a sudden dizziness made her sit down. The doctor had warned her about stress. She needed to slow down, take care of her health, but how could she rest with the company being looted from the inside? The next morning, Emily arrived early at the office. She had an important meeting with investors and needed to be impeccable. She wore a beige pantsuit, perfect makeup, her blonde hair tied in an elegant bun. No one could suspect she had fainted on the street the night before. As she entered the building, she greeted the security guard with a cold nod and headed for the elevator. That's when she saw him. The man from the previous night, Michael, was in the lobby with a cleaning cart wiping the marble floor. He wore a dark blue uniform and was so focused on his work that he didn't notice her immediately. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. Emily felt her face grow warm. He worked there? In the building next to hers? How had she not noticed before? She tried to go straight to the elevator, but he looked up at that very moment. The recognition was mutual and instant. Michael stopped what he was doing, clearly surprised. Emily froze, unsure whether to greet him or pretend she hadn't seen him. Politeness won out, but it came out awkward. "Good morning," she said, too formally. "Good morning," Michael replied, equally uncomfortable. "How are you feeling?" "Fine, thank you." Emily pressed the elevator button harder than necessary. An awkward silence fell. Other employees passed by them, curious about the interaction between the elegant executive and the janitor. "Your daughters are doing well?" Emily asked, not knowing why she cared. "They are. They went to school early today." Michael smiled slightly. "They were worried about you. Emma asked me if the lady in the red coat had gotten better." Emily felt that strange feeling in her chest again. When was the last time someone genuinely worried about her? She couldn't remember. "Tell them I'm fine, and thank you again for your help." The elevator finally arrived. Emily entered quickly, avoiding further conversation. When the doors closed, she leaned against the cold wall and took a deep breath. Why was she so affected by a casual encounter with a janitor? The meeting with the investors was tense. Emily presented the quarterly results, which were good, but noticed strange looks among some board members. Brandon was there, smiling and charming as always, making jokes and winning sympathies. She watched him with new eyes, looking for signs of guilt or nervousness. He seemed completely at ease. "Emily, you look pale," one of the older investors, Mr. Henry, commented. "Are you taking care of yourself?" "I'm great, thank you," she replied automatically. But she wasn't. Throughout the presentation, she felt her heart racing, her vision blurring at the edges. She held onto the table firmly, determined not to show weakness. She managed to finish the meeting without incident, but as soon as everyone left, she had to sit down and take deep breaths for several minutes. Brandon stayed behind, closing the meeting room door. Henry is right. You don't look well." His voice sounded concerned, but Emily could no longer trust him. "I'm fine," she repeated curtly. "You've been working too much. Let me take on more responsibilities, give you a break." Brandon approached, placing his hand on her shoulder. Emily pulled away from the touch as if burned. "No need. I can handle it." "But—" "I said I can handle it, Brandon." Her tone left no room for argument. He stepped back, a hurt expression crossing his handsome face. For a moment, Emily almost believed she was wrong, that the documents lied. But numbers don't lie, and the signatures were his. The rest of the day passed in a blur of meetings, emails, and phone calls. Emily barely ate, sustained only by coffee and determination. When it was finally 6 in the evening, she allowed herself to go down to get her car. In the building lobby, she saw Michael again. This time he was near the exit, talking to another cleaning staff member. Their laughter echoed in the spacious area, genuine and carefree. Emily felt a pang of envy. When was the last time she laughed like that? Michael saw her and gave a brief wave. She returned it with a nod and headed to the parking lot, but something made her stop. She turned and went back. "Excuse me," she got his attention. Michael approached, a bit surprised. "Yes? I wanted to—" Emily hesitated. What exactly did she want? "Pay you for what you did yesterday, for the help." "No need." Michael shook his head. "I just did what anyone would do. But I insist. Let me at least buy you and your daughters dinner, as a thank you." The words came out before she could think properly. Michael looked at her with a strange expression, somewhere between amusement and suspicion. "You think I need charity?" "It's not charity. It's just a thank you." Emily felt her face warm up. "Look, I appreciate the offer, but it's not necessary. We only helped because it was the right thing to do." Michael started to walk away. "Wait." Emily grabbed his arm without thinking. They stood like that for a moment, her holding his arm, both surprised by the contact. Emily quickly let go, but the warmth of his skin remained imprinted on her palm. "Sorry, I didn't mean to—" She took a deep breath. "Look, I know I was rude yesterday. And you were kind to me when you didn't have to be. I just want to return the kindness." Michael studied her face for a long moment. Emily was surprised to notice he had light brown eyes, almost honey-colored, with little expression lines around them, wrinkles of someone who smiles a lot even when life is hard. "All right," he finally gave in. "But nothing too expensive, okay? I'm not comfortable with these things." "How about a pizza?" Emily suggested, surprising herself. She never ate pizza. Never ate anything that wasn't carefully calculated in calories and nutrients. "Pizza works," Michael smiled, and Emily realized she liked that smile. "There's a good pizzeria near my place. Little Italy. Know it?" Emily didn't. She'd never been to that part of town. "No, but I can find the address." "Saturday night work?" Michael asked. "Works." They exchanged phone numbers, and Emily found herself smiling as she walked to her car. What was she doing? Making a date with the building manager next door. But it wasn't a date, just a thank you. There was nothing wrong with that. The next 2 days were a whirlwind. Emily discreetly hired a private investigator to track the money discrepancies. She needed concrete evidence before confronting Brandon. Meanwhile, she kept up appearances, working side by side with him as if nothing was wrong. Brandon seemed to sense something had changed. He tried approaching her several times, making casual conversation, but Emily kept her distance. She saw the confusion in his eyes, but couldn't afford to be weak now. On Friday, during a strategic planning meeting, Emily felt the familiar dizziness returning. She tried to ignore it, focus on the charts being presented, but the room started spinning. She gripped the table, fighting to stay conscious. "Emily!" Brandon's voice sounded distant. "Em, are you okay?" She wasn't. Everything went dark. When she woke up, she was on the floor of the conference room with several people around her. Brandon was holding her hand, pale with worry. Her secretary, Patricia, was on the phone with someone. "The ambulance is on its way," Patricia announced. "No!" Emily tried to sit up, but Brandon held her down. "Stay still, Em, you fainted. You need to go to the hospital." "I'm not going," she insisted, but her voice came out weak. The ambulance arrived within minutes. The paramedics examined her and insisted on taking her. Emily didn't have the strength to refuse. At the hospital, a battery of tests was done. Hours later, a cardiologist entered the room where she was waiting. "Mrs. Harrison, your tests show significant cardiac arrhythmia," the doctor explained calmly, "probably caused by chronic stress and lack of proper rest. You need to slow down your work pace immediately." "That's not possible," Emily replied automatically. "This isn't a suggestion. If you don't address this now, you could have serious complications. Heart attack, stroke." The doctor looked at her seriously. "How old are you? 32? 33? You have your whole life ahead of you. Don't throw it away because of work." Brandon was by the bedside, holding her hand again. Emily looked at him and saw tears in his eyes. Tears of genuine concern or guilt for stressing his own sister to death. "I'll take care of everything at the company," Brandon said softly. "You're going to take medical leave and rest." "No." Emily pulled her hand away. "I just need a few days. I'll work from home." "Emily," Brandon began, "don't argue with me." She cut him off. The doctor sighed, clearly used to stubborn patients. "All right, but you'll need regular follow-ups, weekly appointments, heart monitoring, lifestyle changes, and if you have another episode, you'll have to accept full medical leave." Emily reluctantly agreed. She was discharged that same night with a prescription and strict orders to rest. Brandon insisted on driving her home. In the car, they sat in silence for a long time. Finally, Brandon spoke. "Em, I know you're upset with me for some reason. I don't know what I did, but..." "Later, Brandon. I'm tired." Emily leaned her head against the window, ending the conversation. When she got home, it was past 10 at night. Emily showered, took her medication, and lay down. But sleep wouldn't come. She stared at the ceiling, thinking about everything that was happening. The company being stolen from, her health failing, the trust in her brother destroyed. She remembered Saturday's commitment, the pizza with Michael and the girls. Should she cancel? She wasn't in any condition to go out, but something inside her resisted the idea of cancelling. She needed something normal, something that didn't involve spreadsheets, meetings, or family betrayal. On Saturday morning, she woke up still tired. She spent the day answering emails from the couch, ignoring the doctor's orders for complete rest. Brandon called 3 times, but she didn't answer. She wasn't ready to confront him yet. At 6 in the evening, she started getting ready for dinner. She opened the closet full of expensive clothes and realized nothing there seemed appropriate for a simple neighborhood pizzeria. She chose jeans and a basic white top, the most casual items she had. Even so, the jeans were designer Italian and the top pure silk. Little Italy was in a working-class neighborhood in North Denver. Emily had never been to that part of the city. She drove carefully through the narrow streets, passing modest houses and local shops. It was a completely different world from hers. When she arrived, Michael was already there with the girls. They were waiting at a table near the window. Emma and Lily saw her first and waved enthusiastically. Michael stood up as she approached. "Good evening," he greeted, a bit formally. "Good evening," Emily replied, suddenly nervous. "Do you remember my daughters, Emma and Lily?" Michael introduced. "Of course. Hi, girls." Emily smiled at them. "Hi," Emma replied excitedly. "Daddy said you're feeling better. Are you really better?" "I am better, thanks for asking." Emily sat in the chair Michael pulled out for her. The pizzeria was cozy, with red and white checkered tablecloths and the wonderful smell of dough baking in the wood-fired oven. Emily couldn't remember the last time she'd been to such a simple and welcoming place. "What do you like to eat?" she asked the girls. "Chocolate pizza," Lily shouted, making Michael laugh. "Lily, chocolate pizza is dessert. First we eat the real one," he corrected gently. "I like margarita," Emma said, more composed. Michael ordered a large mixed pizza and a small chocolate one for later. While they waited, they made small talk. Emily learned that Michael had worked as a building superintendent for 3 years since moving to Denver. "You're not from here?" she asked. "We're from Fort Collins," Michael explained. "I moved here after—" He hesitated, looking at the girls. "After I separated from their mother." There was a story there Emily could tell, but it wasn't the time to ask. Emma and Lily chatted between themselves, drawing on paper napkins. "And you? Do you work in that big building?" Michael asked. "I do. I'm a project manager," Emily lied, not knowing why. She didn't want him to know she was the CEO. She didn't want to be treated differently. "Must be demanding," Michael commented. "You were pretty stressed that night." "I was. I still am," Emily Harrison admitted. "Work has been complicated." "I understand. I've been through that too." There was something in his tone, a shadow of old pain. The pizza arrived, steaming and fragrant. Emily took a slice and took the first bite. It was delicious. When was the last time she ate something just because it tasted good, without thinking about calories or nutrition? "Is it good?" Michael Sullivan asked, smiling at her expression. "It's great," Emily admitted. The girls talked about school, friends, favorite cartoons. Emily listened to them attentively, fascinated by that window into a world completely different from hers. A world where worries were simple, where love and laughter mattered more than money and power. "Do you have children?" Emma asked suddenly. "I don't," Emily replied. "Why not?" the girl insisted with the typical frankness of children. "Emma!" Michael gently scolded her. "That's not a question you ask." "It's okay," Emily smiled. "I never had time to think about it. I work a lot." "But you're very pretty," Lily commented, making Emily blush. "Daddy is pretty too. You could date and then you'd be our mom." "Lily!" Michael turned red to his ears. "Sorry, It's all right." Emily laughed, really laughed. "She's just honest." The dinner continued in a light and pleasant atmosphere. Emily found herself relaxing for the first time in weeks, maybe months. When the chocolate pizza arrived, the girls celebrated, and even Emily had a piece. After dinner, Emily insisted on paying the bill. Michael tried to split it, but she was firm. "It was my idea. I'll pay," she said, leaving no room for discussion. When it was time to leave, the girls hugged her, asking to meet again. Emily promised they would, surprising herself with the sincerity of the desire. "Thank you for dinner," Michael said when they were alone for a moment. "And sorry about the girls. They're very direct." "I loved it," Emily replied honestly. "It had been a while since I had so much fun." They looked at each other for a long moment. There was something there, a connection that Emily couldn't name, but it was real. "Take care of your health, okay?" Michael said softly. "Work isn't worth a life." "I'll try," she promised. On the way back home, Emily felt strange. It wasn't just the tiredness or the medication, it was something deeper. For the first time in a long time, she questioned the choices she had made. The life she had built seemed empty compared to the simple richness she saw at that pizza table. But she had no time for philosophies. Monday would arrive in just over a day, and with it all the complications she had left pending. The private investigator had promised initial results for the beginning of the week. Soon she would know the full extent of Brandon's betrayal. What she would do with that information was another question. Report her own brother? Destroy the company's image by exposing an internal scandal? There was so much at stake, but letting it go would mean accepting dishonesty, allowing it to continue. Sunday was a day lost in thoughts and anxiety. Emily tried to rest, but her mind wouldn't stop. She caught herself thinking about Michael more often than she should, about the gentle way he treated his daughters, his easy laugh, his kind eyes. What life had he led? Why did he separate from the girl's mother? How did he manage to seem so at peace despite the obvious difficulties? Monday came too quickly. Emily woke up determined, took her medication, and went to the office earlier than usual. The private investigator had requested a meeting at 9. She arrived at 7, wanting to review some documents first. The building was almost empty at that hour, only security and cleaning staff. As she passed through the lobby, she saw Michael again. He was cleaning the large windows at the entrance, focused on his work. When he saw her, he waved with a smile. "Good morning. You're early today," he commented. "I have an important meeting." Emily stopped briefly. "And you? Do you always work at this hour?" "I work overtime when I can," Michael explained. "The money helps." Emily thought of the girls, the costs of raising them alone, and felt admiration for that man who worked so hard without complaining. "Are the girls well?" she asked. "They are. They haven't stopped talking about you since Saturday," he smiled. "I think you've gained fans." "They're special girls," Emily said sincerely. "They are." The pride in Michael's voice was evident. A comfortable silence settled between them. Emily realized she liked this, these small moments of conversation without pressure or expectations. "I need to go," she said finally, "but it was good to see you." "Likewise. Take care of your health," Michael repeated the advice. In the office, Emily prepared for the meeting. The investigator arrived promptly at 9, carrying a bulky folder of documents. "Miss Harrison, what I've found is concerning," he began, spreading papers across the table. The next 40 minutes were a painful revelation. Brandon wasn't just embezzling money. He was systematically draining company accounts, transferring funds to shell companies, creating a complex web of fraud that had been going on for over 2 years. "How much?" Emily asked, her voice trembling. "How much did he embezzle in total?" "By my calculations, approximately $8 million, the investigator replied. Emily felt the floor disappear beneath her feet. 8 million. That was almost a third of the company's reserves. How had she not noticed before? How had she let this happen right under her nose? "There's more," the investigator continued. "I found communications between your brother and some board members. It seems he's planning a coup to take full control of the company." "What?" Emily stood up abruptly, feeling the familiar dizziness return. "They want to force you to step aside, claiming your health is compromised. With you out, Brandon takes over as chairman." The investigator showed printed emails. Emily read them, each word like a stab. They were detailed plans, conversations about how to exploit her, how to use her health problems against her, and Brandon was at the center of it all. "I need," she started to say, but the room spun violently. The last thing she remembered was falling, hearing the investigator shouting her name, feeling pain when she hit the floor. She woke up in the hospital again. This time, however, there were more people around. Brandon, Patricia, the doctor from the other day, nurses. Everyone was talking at once. "Very low blood pressure. Needs absolute rest. Can't go on like this." Emily tried to sit up, but gentle hands pushed her back into bed. "Stay still, Em," Brandon's voice. "You fainted again." "Let me go," she said, pushing his hands away. "Miss Harrison, this time there's no negotiation," the doctor was firm. "You're having repeated episodes of severe arrhythmia. If you don't rest now, you'll face permanent consequences." "I need to work," Emily insisted, but even to herself the words sounded empty. "No, you need to live," the doctor retorted. "And for that, you'll accept medical leave for at least 3 months." 3 months, Emily almost shouted, sitting up in bed despite the protests. "I can't be away for 3 months." "Em, let me take care of the company," Brandon said, putting his hand on her shoulder. "You know you can trust me." Emily looked him in the eyes. She could see the falseness there now, disguised as concern. How had she not seen it before? How had she been so blind? "No," she said firmly, "I won't accept leave." "Then I'll have to hospitalize you against your will," the doctor threatened. "This situation is putting your life at risk." Emily realized she was cornered. If she refused, she would be hospitalized. If she accepted, Brandon would take over the company. She needed time to think, to plan. 1 week, she negotiated. "Give me 1 week to organize things, and then I'll take the leave." The doctor looked at her with disapproval, but conceded. 1 week. But you'll work from home, without stress, and come back here for a checkup in 3 days. Any new episode, and I'll admit you. Understood?" "Understood," Emily agreed. She was discharged a few hours later with even more medications and stricter orders. Brandon insisted on taking her home again, but she refused. She called a taxi and went alone. At home, Emily called the private investigator. He was fine, just shaken by the fainting spell. They agreed to meet again, but in a discreet location. They arranged to meet at a small cafe in a distant neighborhood where no one would recognize them. "I need more information," Emily said over the phone. "Everything you can get about their plans. And I need copies of everything, stored in a safe place." "I'll take care of it," the investigator promised. That night, Emily barely slept. She spent hours looking over documents, emails, financial reports. The more she investigated, the worse it got. Brandon had started small, just a few thousand here and there, but he grew bolder, more greedy. And no one noticed because everyone trusted him, the charming, popular younger brother. On Tuesday, she worked from home as promised, but she couldn't concentrate. At every noise in the street, she jumped. Did Brandon suspect that she knew? Would he try something more drastic? The phone rang, making her jump. It was Patricia. "Emily, Brandon is telling everyone that you're very sick and will need to step away," the secretary whispered. "He's already started making changes, bringing in new people without consulting you." "What kind of changes?" Emily asked, feeling her anger rise. "He hired a new finance director, a friend of his, and he's talking about restructuring the audit department." Of course he was. He needed to place his allies in key positions to better hide the embezzlement. Emily thanked Patricia and hung up, gripping the phone so tightly her fingers turned white. She needed a plan. But how could she confront Brandon without solid evidence that could be challenged? How could she protect the company without destroying her own health in the process? The answer came from an unexpected place. Her phone rang again, this time from an unknown number. "Hello? Hi, is this Emily?" Michael's voice. "Michael," she was surprised. "Is everything okay?" "Yes." "Sorry to call like this, out of the blue. It's just—" He hesitated. "Emma won't stop asking when we're going to see you again. And I thought, are you okay? I saw you being taken away in an ambulance yesterday." Emily didn't know he had seen. She felt exposed, vulnerable. "I had another fainting spell," she admitted, "but I'm better now." "You're working too hard again." It wasn't a question. "It's complicated," Emily sighed. "Look, I know we barely know each other," Michael said, "but if you need to talk to someone who isn't involved in your work problems, I'm here." The offer was so simple, so genuine, that Emily felt tears in her eyes. When was the last time someone offered to help her without wanting anything in return? Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. "Thank you," she said, her voice faltering. "That means a lot." "The girls wanted to know if you'd like to come over for dinner tomorrow," Michael continued. "Nothing fancy, just spaghetti and meatballs, but they'd love to see you." Emily should have refused. She had so much to do, so many problems to solve. But she heard herself saying, "I'd love to come." "Great, I'll text you the address." Michael seemed genuinely happy. "Is 7 o'clock good?" "Perfect." After hanging up, Emily Harrison stared at the phone for a long time. What was she doing? She didn't have time for casual dinners, for making friends with building managers and their daughters. But at the same time, that promise of normalcy was the only thing keeping her sane at the moment. On Wednesday afternoon, the investigator texted asking for an urgent meeting. Emily went to the discreet cafe they had arranged, wearing sunglasses and a cap to avoid being recognized. She felt ridiculous, like in a bad spy movie, but couldn't risk being seen. The investigator was at a table in the back, with a new folder of documents. "Miss Harrison, I found something big," he said as soon as she sat down. "Your brother isn't working alone. He has a partner, someone from outside the company, who's bankrolling the whole operation." "Who?" Emily asked. "Maxwell Thompson, a businessman from Chicago." The investigator showed photos. They met 3 years ago at a corporate event. Since then, they've been meeting regularly. Emily knew the name. Maxwell Thompson owned a competing company, always trying to gain a share of their market. but she never imagined he could be working with Brandon. "The plan is this," the investigator explained. "Brandon drains the company from the inside, weakening it financially. When you're forced to step aside for health reasons, he takes over and makes it look like he's trying to save the situation. But in reality, he's going to sell it to Thompson for a fraction of its real value. The two split the profit and you lose everything." Emily felt nauseous. It wasn't just betrayal, it was the premeditated destruction of everything her father built, everything she dedicated years of her life to. "Do I have proof of all this?" she asked, her voice icy. "I do. Recorded conversations, bank transfers, even a preliminary sales contract." The investigator confirmed. "Then let's end this," Emily said, determination burning inside her despite the exhaustion. But when she stood up to leave, the dizziness returned. She grabbed the table, breathing deeply, fighting the darkness that threatened to swallow her. "Miss Harrison," the investigator caught her. "You need a doctor." "No, I need—" But the words died as her legs gave way. The investigator managed to catch her before she fell completely, helping her sit back down. He brought water, stayed by her side until the episode passed. "You can't go on like this," he said gently. "Your brother will win by default if you end up—" He didn't finish the sentence, but Emily understood. If she didn't take care of her health, Brandon would win anyway, because she wouldn't be there to fight anymore. "I know," she admitted, her voice small, "but I can't stop now. Not when I'm so close to exposing everything." "Then delegate," the investigator suggested. "You have allies, trusted people. Let someone else do the heavy lifting while you rest." Emily thought of Patricia, her loyal secretary, of Henry, the oldest investor who always supported her father, of other board members who were still honest. Maybe she could delegate some of it. "You're right," she finally agreed. "I'll need help." She spent the rest of the afternoon planning. She scheduled discreet meetings with trusted people, began putting together a strategy to expose Brandon without destroying the company in the process. It would be delicate, would require perfect timing, but it was possible. At 6:30 in the evening, she stopped everything and got ready for dinner at Michael's house. She chose casual clothes again, pulled her hair into a simple ponytail, and left. The address Michael sent was in a popular housing complex in the North Zone. Emily parked her imported car between old Golfs and motorcycles, feeling conspicuous. She climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor and knocked on the door of apartment 32. Emma opened it, shouting with joy. "She came, Daddy. The pretty lady came." Michael appeared behind her, wearing an apron and smiling. Come in. Sorry for the mess," he said, making space. The apartment was small but cozy. Living room, open kitchen, 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. Everything was very clean and organized, decorated with the girls' drawings on the refrigerator and family photos on the walls. Emily noticed that all the photos showed only Michael and the girls, none of their mother. "You can sit," Michael indicated the sofa. "Dinner is almost ready." Lily jumped into Emily's lap as soon as she sat down, hugging her tightly. The child's spontaneity touched something deep in Emily. She hugged the girl back, feeling a warmth in her chest she couldn't name. "Do you like to draw?" Lily asked, showing a notebook full of colorful scribbles. "Yes, I do," Emily lied gently. She hadn't drawn since childhood. "Then draw with me." Lily pushed crayons into her hands. The next few minutes were dedicated to creating colorful doodles alongside the girl. Emma joined them, and soon the three were laughing at abstract drawings that pretended to be animals and people. Michael watched them from the kitchen, stirring the tomato sauce. He had a soft, almost nostalgic expression. When Emily looked at him, their gazes met, and remained there for a moment too long to be casual. "Dinner is ready," he announced, breaking the spell. The table was small, but everyone fit comfortably. Michael served spaghetti with homemade meatballs, salad, and garlic bread. It was simple food, but made with care and love. "Did you make all this?" Emily asked, impressed. "I did," Michael confirmed, a bit shy. "I had to learn to cook when I started taking care of the girls alone." "It's delicious," Emily said honestly. During dinner, the girls talked about their day at school. Emma had gotten an A on a math test. Lily had fought with a boy who pulled her hair, but they had already made up. Simple, everyday stories that made Emily realize how distant she was from real life. "And you?" Michael asked. "How's work?" Emily hesitated. She didn't want to bring her problems into that welcoming space. But something in Michael's open expression made her want to share. "Complicated," she admitted. "I found out that someone close to me is doing wrong things, and I don't know how to deal with it." Michael nodded, understanding. "Family person?" "Yes," Emily confirmed, surprised by his perception. "That's the hardest part," Michael said softly. "When the one who hurts us is the one who should protect us." There was pain in his voice. Emily realized he spoke from experience. "What did you do?" she asked, "when you went through that?" Michael looked at the girls who were distracted trying to build towers with meatballs. "I forgave," he said simply, "but I also distanced myself. I set boundaries. I protected those I love above all." "And if it's not possible to distance yourself?" Emily asked. "It's always possible." Michael looked her in the eyes. "The question is whether you're willing to pay the price. Because distancing from family, even toxic family, hurts, but sometimes it's necessary to survive." The words hung between them. Emily felt that he understood, truly understood, the struggle she was fighting internally. After dinner, Michael didn't let her help with the dishes. He told her to stay in the living room with the girls, who insisted on watching a movie together. It was an animation about a princess and a dragon. Emily found herself genuinely entertained, laughing at the silly jokes and cheering for the characters. Lily fell asleep halfway through the movie, her head on Emily's lap. The small, warm weight of the child was comforting in a way Emily had never experienced before. She absent-mindedly stroked the little girl's blonde hair, feeling something soften inside her. "She likes you," Michael commented softly, returning from the kitchen. "They both do." "I like them too," Emily admitted. "They're special girls." "They are," Michael smiled with pride. "I went through a lot to be with them, but every second was worth it." "Their mother," Emily began, then hesitated. "Sorry, it's none of my business." "It's okay." Michael sat beside her on the couch. "It's no secret. She left us when Lily was 6 months old. Met another guy, a rich businessman, and thought life with him would be better. She tried to take the girls, but I fought in court. It was difficult. But I got custody." "Does she see the girls?" Emily asked. "No." Michael's voice grew quieter. "She gave up visitation rights, chose her new life. The girls don't really remember her." Emily felt anger toward a woman she'd never met. How could someone abandon such wonderful children? And at the same time, she felt deep admiration for Michael, who took everything on alone. "You're an amazing father," she said sincerely. "I try," Michael shrugged. "I don't always get it right, but I do my best." Emma began to doze off too. Michael carefully picked up Lily to put her to bed. Emily stayed with Emma, who murmured something about chocolate before falling completely asleep. When Michael returned, he carried Emma too. Emily was left alone in the living room, looking at the walls decorated with love and creativity. There was something deeply comforting about that place. It was a real home, not just an expensive, empty house like hers. "Sorry," Michael returned. "They were tired from the day." "No need to apologize," Emily smiled. "It was a perfect evening." "Want some coffee?" he offered. "I do." They sat at the kitchen table with fresh coffee. The conversation flowed easily, touching on various topics. Michael talked about his life in Fort Collins, about his dream of studying business administration that he had to abandon to work. Emily spoke about the pressure of taking over the company too young, about never having time to really live. "Do you regret it?" Michael asked. "Dedicating everything to work?" Emily thought honestly before answering. "I didn't used to regret it. I thought it was my purpose, my duty. But now..." She looked around the simple but lively apartment. "Now I wonder if I didn't lose important things along the way." "It's never too late to change," Michael said. "Sometimes it feels like it is," Emily sighed. "I built a whole life based on certain choices. I don't know if I can just change direction now." "You can," Michael placed his hand over hers on the table. "If you really want to." The touch was simple, friendly, but Emily felt electricity run through her. She looked at their hands together, his calloused from work, hers soft from expensive creams. Different worlds, different lives. But in that moment, it felt right. Michael noticed the moment stretching too long and withdrew his hand a bit awkwardly. "It's getting late," he commented. "Yeah, I should go," Emily agreed, but didn't want to. At the door, they said goodbye with some reluctance. "Thanks for dinner. And for the conversation," Emily said. "Thanks for coming. It means a lot to the girls." "And to me," Michael replied. They stood there for a moment, neither wanting the evening to end. Finally, Emily forced herself to leave. On the way home, she couldn't stop thinking about Michael, about the gentle way he treated his daughters, the wisdom he showed despite his difficult life, the smile that lit up his tired face. Was she getting attached too quickly? Probably. But she couldn't stop. The next few days were a whirlwind. Emily Harrison discreetly met with her allies on the board, showing some of the evidence the investigator had gathered. The reaction was one of shock and anger. Henry, especially, was furious. "That boy," the older man exclaimed. "After everything his father did for him, how could he?" "The question now is how to act," Emily said, keeping calm despite the pain in her chest. "If we report it openly, the company will suffer. The press will have a field day with this, our investors will panic." "So what do you suggest?" Patricia asked. "An extraordinary board meeting," Emily explained her plan. "We summon all members, including Brandon. We present the evidence, give him a chance to confess and return the money. If he refuses, then we take it to the proper authorities." "And if he denies it?" Henry questioned. "The evidence is solid. Bank transfers, emails, even recorded conversations. He won't be able to deny it." Emily showed confidence she didn't completely feel. The meeting was scheduled for Friday. Emily used the days before to strengthen her position, ensuring she had enough votes on the board for what she needed to do. She also tried to rest, following medical orders as little as possible to avoid raising suspicions. Brandon called several times during the week, but she avoided talking to him beyond what was necessary. She could hear the growing frustration in his voice, the confusion about why she was pulling away. Part of her felt sorry for him. But the larger part, the part wounded by the betrayal, remained firm. On Thursday evening, Michael sent a message asking how she was. They had exchanged light messages during the week, nothing major, just casual check-ins and small jokes. But that night, Emily was particularly fragile. "Not too well," she typed. "Tomorrow is going to be a tough day." The reply came quickly. "Want to talk about it?" Emily looked at the clock. It was almost 10 at night. Was it too late to call? But she needed to hear a friendly voice, someone not involved in all that mess. "Can I call you?" she typed. "Of course." Michael's voice was sleepy when he answered, but he became alert when he realized she was upset. "What happened?" he asked, concerned. "Nothing yet, but it will happen tomorrow." Emily curled up on the sofa, hugging a pillow. "I have to confront the person who's doing the wrong things I told you about, and I'm scared." "Scared of what?" "Everything," Emily admitted. "Of being wrong, of being right, of destroying relationships that can't be fixed, of having to make decisions that will change everything." "Have you decided what you're going to do?" Michael asked gently. "I have, but that doesn't make it easier." "It's never easy to do the right thing when it hurts people we love," Michael said, "but you'll regret it more if you do nothing. You'll eat yourself up inside, torture yourself with the what-ifs. At least this way you'll sleep knowing you acted with integrity." The words were simple, but true. Emily felt a few tears escape. "How did you get so wise?" she asked, half laughing, half crying. "Experience," Michael laughed too, "and a lot of therapy. Raising two girls alone teaches you a lot about priorities and making tough choices." They talked for over an hour. Michael didn't press for details, just listened when she needed to talk and offered words of encouragement when she wavered. When they finally hung up, Emily felt stronger, more ready for what was to come. On Friday morning, she put on her war suit, dark navy blue, impeccable cut, high heels. Perfect makeup hiding the dark circles from sleepless nights. Hair pulled back in a low bun. It was armor as much as clothing. She arrived at the office an hour before the meeting. The entire board was summoned, 14 members besides her and Brandon. Henry and other allies were already there, preparing the room, organizing documents. "Everything ready?" Emily Harrison asked. "Everything," Henry confirmed. "The lawyers are on standby if needed." Brandon Harrison arrived 15 minutes early, smiling and carefree. He wore an expensive grey suit and a blue tie. He looked like the successful executive he had always wanted to be. "Em," he greeted with a hug that she returned stiffly. "What's this mysterious meeting about? Are you okay? Are you well enough for this?" "I'm great," Emily replied coldly. "Let's begin." When everyone was seated, Emily stood at the head of the table. She could feel her heart racing, the anxiety threatening to turn into arrhythmia. She took a deep breath and focused. "Thank you all for coming on such short notice," she began. "What I'm going to present today is difficult, but necessary." Brandon watched her with growing concern. He was no longer smiling. "In the last few weeks, I've discovered serious irregularities in the company's finances," Emily continued, keeping her voice steady. "Misappropriation of funds, creation of shell companies, systematic fraud that has been going on for over 2 years. Shocked murmurs traveled around the table. Brandon turned pale. What are you talking about?" His voice sounded too sharp. "I'm talking about you, Brandon," Emily faced him directly. "You embezzled approximately $8 million from the company, and you plan to force me out, to sell everything to the competition." "This is absurd." Brandon stood up abruptly. "You're sick, Em. You're paranoid because of the stress and the medication." "I have proof," Emily signaled to Henry, who began distributing folders to the board members. Over the next 20 minutes, she presented each piece of evidence methodically. Bank transactions with Brandon's signatures, emails to Maxwell Thompson discussing the sale of the company, recordings of conversations planning how to remove her, everything documented, dated, irrefutable. Brandon tried to deny it, but his voice lost strength as the evidence piled up. Some board members looked at him with disgust. Others seemed genuinely shocked. "Do you have anything to say?" Emily asked when she finished. Brandon was white as a sheet, his hands trembling. He began but didn't know how to finish. "Why, Brandon?" Emily's voice finally broke. "Why did you do this? I trusted you. I protected you, gave you opportunities, and you tried to destroy me." "I didn't try to destroy you," Brandon finally exploded. "Finally, I just wanted my share. It was always you, always. The perfect heiress, the favorite daughter. I was never anything but the leftover." "So that's what it was. Jealousy?" Emily felt nauseous. "It wasn't just jealousy. It was justice. This company should have been mine too. But Daddy left you in charge and I just became the vice, always in the shadow of the great Emily." The words poured out now, years of resentment gushing forth. "So you decided to steal," Emily said coldly. "You decided to betray everything Daddy built, everything I've dedicated my life to protect." Brandon looked around the table, realizing he had no allies there. Everyone looked at him with contempt or disappointment. "I was going to pay it back eventually." "Lies," Henry slammed his hand on the table. "You were going to sell the company and run off with the money. It's all here, in black and white." Brandon collapsed in his chair, defeated. Tears began to stream down his face. Please. I'm your brother. Don't turn me in. We can handle this as a family." Emily felt her heart tighten. For a moment she almost gave in, but then she remembered the nights she spent worried, the fainting spells, the systematic betrayal. She remembered Michael's words about doing the right thing, even when it hurts. "You have 2 options," she said, her voice firm again. "Return all the money, resign from your position, and leave the company. Either I take this to the authorities, and you face the legal consequences." Brandon begged. "Choose. Now." The silence in the room was absolute. Brandon looked at each member of the board, searching for an ally. He found none. "I'll return it," he finally said, his voice broken. "I'll return everything and leave. Just, please don't report me, please." Emily nodded, feeling something inside her break. She had won, but there was no joy in the victory. "The board will monitor the return of every penny," Henry announced, "and you will sign a document renouncing any future participation in the company. If you fail to comply with any part of the agreement, the evidence goes to the authorities immediately." Brandon agreed to everything, signing documents with trembling hands. When it was just him and Emily in the room after everyone had left, he tried to approach. I'm sorry, No." She cut him off. "You're not. You're sorry you got caught. If it weren't for that, you'd still be stealing from me, sabotaging me, probably working me to death." "I never meant to hurt you," Brandon cried. "But you did." Emily felt her own tears threatening, but held them back. "And that changes everything between us. Forever. We're family." "Family doesn't do what you did." Emily picked up her purse. "I hope I never see you again, Brandon." She left the room without looking back, ignoring his sobs. In the elevator, she finally let the tears fall. She had saved the company, protected her father's legacy, but she lost her brother in the process. When she reached the ground floor, her legs felt weak. Familiar dizziness began to take over. Not here, she thought desperately. Not now. She grabbed the handrail outside the elevator, taking deep breaths. "Emily," Michael's voice. She looked up. He was there in the lobby with the cleaning cart, but he dropped everything when he saw her state, running to where she was. "Are you okay? You're pale." He held her arm, firm and gentle. "I just need to sit for a minute." Emily let him guide her to a nearby bench. Michael knelt in front of her, studying her face. "You did it," he said, and it wasn't a question. "You did what you had to do." "I did," Emily confirmed, her voice trembling, "and it was terrible. I know, but you were strong. You were brave." "I don't feel brave." The tears returned. "I feel destroyed." Michael took her hand and held it firmly. "That's what courage sometimes looks like. Destroyed, bleeding but still standing. You did the right thing, Emily." She let herself cry there in the public lobby of the office building, holding the hand of a man she had known for only a few weeks, and somehow that felt more real than anything she had felt in years. When the tears finally stopped, Emily noticed people were staring. Employees, security guards, all curious about the CEO crying in the lobby. She didn't care. "Thank you," she told Michael, "for being here." "Always," he simply replied. The next few days were dedicated to rebuilding. Brandon kept his agreement, returning the money in installments and officially resigning. He left the country soon after, saying he was moving to Ireland. Emily didn't miss him. The board voted to strengthen internal controls, change financial processes, ensure nothing like this could ever happen again. Emily oversaw everything, but this time she delegated more, trusted her team, worked from home when her body needed rest. The fainting spells became less frequent. The doctor commented that the reduced stress was doing wonders for her health. Emily started sleeping better, eating right, even exercising a little, and she saw Michael whenever possible. Dinners with the girls became part of her weekly routine. Sometimes at his place, sometimes she took everyone to new spots. Emma and Lily completely adopted her, calling her Aunt Em without anyone asking. One Saturday, a month after the meeting that changed everything, Emily took everyone to a park. The girls ran around the playground while she and Michael chatted, sitting on a bench. "The girls asked me if you're my girlfriend," Michael commented casually, but Emily sensed tension in his voice. "And what did you say?" she asked, her heart racing. "I said we're friends," Michael looked at her. "But I'd like us to be more, if you want." Emily studied his face, the kind, hard-working, dedicated man who had accepted her into his life without ulterior motives, who saw her vulnerabilities and didn't exploit them, who made her feel safe for the first time in a long while. "I'd like that too," she admitted. "But Michael, Our lives are so different. I have a company to run, constant pressures, a world that... That doesn't matter. Michael interrupted her. What matters is how we feel, how you make me feel, how I apparently make you feel. We'll figure out the rest together. Emily smiled, feeling a lightness she hadn't experienced in years. Then yes, I want to try. Michael smiled back, that smile that lit up his whole face. He leaned in and kissed her gently. It was simple, sweet, perfect. "Ew! Daddy's kissing Aunt Em," Lily shouted from the swing, making them both laugh. "Are you guys dating now?" Emma ran over to them. "Like a prince and princess?" "Like yes," Michael confirmed, pulling his daughter into a hug. The girls celebrated as if they'd won the lottery. Emily watched them, watched Michael, and felt she was finally in the right place. But life isn't a fairy tale, and new challenges soon emerged. When Emily discreetly announced her relationship to a few close people, the reaction was mixed. Patricia was supportive. Henry was concerned but respectful. Other board members, however, made nasty comments about mixing with lower classes and lack of decorum. Emily's mother, Margaret Harrison, who had kept her distance during the whole crisis with Brandon, called furiously when she found out. "A janitor? Emily, have you completely lost your mind?" she shouted on the phone. "Mom, I'm not going to argue about this with you," Emily replied calmly. "You're the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. You can't date the cleaning staff. What will people think?" Margaret continued. "I don't care what people think," Emily said. "Michael is a good, honest man who's raising 2 daughters on his own. He's worth more than all the rich, corrupt businessmen you want me to date." "This is about Brandon," Margaret accused. "You're rebelling because you're hurt by your brother." "This has nothing to do with Brandon." Emily felt anger rising. "It's about me choosing to be happy for the first time in my life. Happy, with a life of hardship, raising children who aren't even yours." Margaret laughed bitterly. "You'll regret it." "Probably," Emily admitted. "But they'll be my regrets, my choices, not yours." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. The call ended badly. Margaret hung up without saying goodbye. Emily was left shaking with adrenaline and anger, but also with conviction. She wouldn't let prejudiced opinions dictate her life, not anymore. Michael noticed she was upset when they met that evening. "Do you want to talk about it?" he offered. Emily told him about the call, about the board members' comments. Michael listened quietly, his expression growing more serious. "I understand if you want to reconsider," he said finally. "I don't want to cause problems for you." "You're not causing problems," Emily held his hands. "Prejudiced people are, and I'm not going to give in to them. But your mother—" "My mother will have to accept it or be out of my life," Emily said firmly. "Just like everyone else, you and the girls are part of my life now, and that's not negotiable." Michael pulled her into a tight hug. Emily felt the strength of those arms, the solidness of that chest, and knew she had made the right choice. But the problems didn't stop there. A few weeks later, during Emma's school performance, a wealthy mother of another child made comments about the millionaire girlfriend of the janitor, loud enough for everyone to hear. "She must be desperate to accept a man with 2 children and a cleaning job," the woman whispered to her friends, laughing. "Or maybe she likes playing with poor people. Rich people understand, right?" Emily heard everything. She felt anger burning inside her, but before she could react, Michael placed his hand on her arm. "It's not worth it," he said quietly. "Those people will always judge. Let them be." "How do you stand it?" Emily asked, frustrated. "Being treated as less by people who aren't worth half of what you are." "I've learned not to let their opinion define me." Michael shrugged. "I know who I am. I know I take good care of my daughters, that I work honestly, that I'm a good man. What they think doesn't change that." The simple wisdom of those words struck Emily deeply. She had spent her whole life caring about opinions, about what people would say, about keeping up appearances, and Michael, with much less money but much more integrity, had a peace she had never known. "I want to learn that," she told him. "I want to learn to be free like that." "You will." Michael smiled. It's a process, but you will. Emma's performance was adorable. The girl played the piano wonderfully, then recited a poem she had written herself. When she finished, she looked directly at Michael and Emily in the audience, smiling radiantly. The pride on Michael's face made Emily's eyes fill with tears. After the performance, while they waited for the girls, a teacher approached. "Mr. Sullivan?" She got Raphael's attention. "Can I speak with you for a moment?" Michael nodded yes, looking worried. The teacher, a kind lady of about 50, smiled reassuringly. "Don't worry, it's nothing bad. Actually, I wanted to talk about Emma's performance. She is exceptionally well in all subjects, especially math and English," the teacher explained. "We are organizing a special program for high-achieving students. It would be a full scholarship to a very good private school. I would like to recommend her." Michael was speechless for a moment. "A private school," he repeated. "Yes, Horizon Academy. Excellent education, extracurricular activities, everything covered by the scholarship." The teacher handed him a brochure. "I believe it would be an incredible opportunity for her. I need to think." Michael held the brochure with trembling hands. "Of course, but know that she has a lot of potential. It would be a waste not to give her this chance." The teacher smiled and walked away. Emily saw the expression on Michael's face. It was a mix of pride, hope, and fear. "This is wonderful," she told him. "Emma deserves this opportunity." "I know." Michael nodded slowly. But what? What if she changes?" Michael expressed the fear that was clearly consuming him. "What if she enters this world of rich people and starts to be ashamed of me, of our small apartment, of our simple life?" Emily understood the pain in those words. She herself came from that world Michael feared, a world of appearances and judgments. "Emma loves you," she said with conviction, "and nothing will change that. But you need to give her this chance. Don't let your fear limit her future." Michael looked at his daughters, who were playing with other children. Emma laughed, free and happy. "You're right," he agreed. "I'll at least let her take the test." Emma was thrilled when she learned about the opportunity. She studied diligently for the admission exam, with Michael and Emily helping however they could. Lily sometimes felt left out, but Emily made sure to give special attention to the youngest too, taking her on outings, just the two of them. During these months of preparation, Emily and Michael's relationship deepened. He started going to her apartment sometimes, amazed by the luxury, but never covetous. Emily loved his humble home, where there was always laughter and human warmth. They occasionally slept together when the girls stayed with the neighbor who looked after them. Those were precious moments of intimacy, where Emily discovered what it was like to be loved for who she was, not for what she possessed. But not everything was perfect. One day, arriving at work, Emily found graffiti on the building's door. "Lazy CEO dating the garbage man." She was shocked and horrified. Who would do this? Patricia was outraged beside her. "I don't know." Emily looked at the cruel phrase, feeling nauseous. "But I'll find out." They reviewed the security cameras, but the person who did it wore a hood and mask. It was premeditated, malicious. Emily had it cleaned immediately, but the humiliation burned. She decided not to tell Michael. She didn't want to worry him, didn't want him to feel responsible. But he found out when one of the employees gossiped. He showed up at her office that afternoon, furious. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked, slamming the door behind him. "Because I didn't want to worry you," Emily replied. "Didn't want to worry me." "Emily, they wrote something disgusting about you, about us." Michael was angrier than she had ever seen him. "And there's nothing we can do." Emily remained calm. "It was anonymous, we've already cleaned it. It's over." "It's not over." Michael slammed his hand on the desk. "You're being attacked because of me." "It's not because of you." Emily stood up too. "It's because of petty and prejudiced people. You didn't do anything wrong. But I put you in this position. If it weren't for me, if it weren't for you, I'd still be an empty woman working herself to death for a company," Emily interrupted. "You saved me, Michael. You showed me there's life beyond work, beyond money and power. Don't let stupid people ruin this." Michael stopped, breathing heavily. Emily saw tears in his eyes. "I love you," he said, and it was the first time either of them had spoken those words. "I love you, and I hate seeing you suffer because of me." Emily felt her heart melt. "I love you too," she replied. "And I'm not suffering, I'm fighting, for us. And I'll keep fighting, no matter how many graffiti appear or how many people speak ill." They embraced there, in Emily's executive office, two different worlds united by something stronger than prejudice or social differences. Emma's test arrived. She did very well and was accepted into the private school with a full scholarship starting next semester. The family celebrated with a special dinner, the girls thrilled. But a few weeks later, Lily fell ill. It started with a simple fever but kept getting worse. Michael took her to the health center, but the doctors couldn't figure out the problem. The girl was losing weight, getting weaker and weaker. Finally, after many tests, the diagnosis: a congenital heart condition that needed urgent surgery. Michael was devastated. "How much does it cost him?" he asked the doctor, knowing he couldn't afford it. "The surgery is expensive." The doctor hesitated. "About $200,000, and it would need to be done soon, within 2 or 3 months at most." Michael felt the ground disappear. $200,000. It would take a lifetime to save that much. Lily didn't have a lifetime. Emily was with him when he received the news. She saw the despair grow on his face, saw when reality hit. "I'll pay," she said before he could speak. "No." Michael shook his head vehemently. "I won't accept it." "Michael, it's Lily's life." Emily tried to reason. "I know." He was on the verge of tears. "But I won't become another person who uses you for money. I won't be that guy." "You're not using me." Emily held his shoulders. "I'm offering help because I love you and those girls." "No." Michael pulled away. "I'll figure it out. I'll take out loans, I'll work more, I'll sell everything I have, but I won't accept charity from you." "It's not charity when it comes from someone who loves you," Emily shouted, frustrated. "To me it is," Michael shouted back. "I have pride, Emily. I need to be able to take care of my daughters on my own. If I accept your money, I'll always feel indebted. I'll always feel less." Emily saw the pain on his face, the wounded pride, the desperation of a father who wants to save his daughter but doesn't know how. "Then what are you going to do?" she asked, her voice low. "I don't know." Michael collapsed into a chair, burying his face in his hands. "But I'll figure it out." The following days were torture. Michael tried loans at every possible bank. He was denied at all of them. He had no way to guarantee he could pay them back, no assets to use as collateral. He tried to ask for an advance at work. The supervisor was kind but firm. They couldn't advance that much. He tried to sell everything of value he had. It wasn't much, and it only added up to a few thousand. Emily watched from afar, desperate to help, but respecting his decision. Lily was getting weaker every day. Emma, normally cheerful, was scared and sad. Finally, 2 weeks before the deadline for the surgery, Michael gave in. He showed up at Emily's apartment at night, after putting the girls to sleep, with the most defeated expression she had ever seen. "I need your help," he said, barely able to look at her. "I need to borrow money for Lily's surgery." "Michael," Emily began. "It's a loan," he cut in. "I'll pay it back. I don't know how long it will take, maybe years, but I'll pay back every last penny, with interest, and you'll draw up a legal contract with everything documented, like you would with anyone." Emily realized how much this was costing him, the shattered pride, the feeling of failure. She approached and hugged him tightly. "It's okay," she said gently. "Whatever way you want, we'll make a contract." Michael hugged her back, trembling. Emily felt his tears wetting her shoulder. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for understanding, for not making me feel even worse." "I'll always understand you," Emily promised. "Always." They made the contract, formal and legal. Emily transferred the money. Michael scheduled the surgery. The operation was set for a week later at a top private hospital. On the day of the surgery, Emily took time off from work. She arrived at the hospital early, finding Michael and the girls already there. Lily was scared but trying to be brave. Emma held her sister's hand tightly. "Aunt Em." Lily gave a weak smile when she saw her. "You came." "Of course I came." Emily kissed her forehead. "I wouldn't miss this for anything." The medical team came to take Lily to prepare for surgery. She hugged each of them, making everyone promise they would be there when she woke up. When the nurses took her away, Emma started to cry. Michael picked her up, comforting her. Emily held his hand, and the three stood there, united by fear and love. The surgery lasted 4 hours. They were the longest 4 hours of Emily's life. Michael paced back and forth, unable to stay still. Emma slept in Emily's lap, exhausted from crying. Finally, the surgeon came out. He was smiling. "The surgery was a success," he announced. "Lily is fine, in recovery. A few more hours and you can see her." Michael broke down in tears of relief. Emily cried too, hugging him. Emma woke up and joined the hug, not really understanding, but feeling it was something good. When they finally could see Lily, she was pale and with several tubes, but awake. She gave a weak smile when she saw them. "It hurt," she said in a sleepy voice. "I know, my love. But it's over now." Michael kissed her forehead repeatedly. "It's over and you're going to be okay." "Did Aunt Em stay?" Lily asked. "I stayed." Emily approached, holding her little hand. "And I'll stay here as long as you need." "I love you, Aunt Em," Lily murmured before falling back asleep. The words hit Emily like a punch to the chest. That child, that family, had become everything to her without her even realizing it. "I love you too, little one," she whispered, even though Lily was already asleep. Michael looked at her with an intense expression. There was gratitude there, but also something deeper. Mature, true love, the kind that survives storms. Lily's recovery took a few weeks. Emily visited every day, sometimes bringing gifts, always bringing love. Emma clung to her more and more, calling her almost Mom. One day, 2 months after the surgery, when Lily was fully recovered, Michael asked to talk to Emily. He took her to dinner, just the two of them, while the neighbor watched the girls. It was a simple but romantic restaurant with candles and live music. Michael was nervous, his hands shaking as he held hers over the table. "Emily, these past few months have been transformative," he began. "You came into my life when I least expected it and changed everything, not just for me, but for the girls." "You changed my life too," Emily replied sincerely. "I know we come from different worlds. I know some people think we don't match," Michael continued, "but I've never been so sure of anything as I am about us." Emily felt her heart race. Where was this conversation going? "The girls love you, I love you, and I don't want to live without you anymore." Michael stood up, going to her side, kneeling. Emily gasped. "Was he really—" "Emily Harrison, will you marry me?" Michael took a small box from his pocket, opening it to reveal a simple but beautiful ring. Tears streamed down Emily's face. Yes, they came from different worlds. Yes, many people would judge. Yes, there would be difficulties. But none of that mattered compared to what they felt for each other. "Yes," she answered, her voice choked. "Yes, I will." Michael placed the ring on her finger and kissed her, and the entire restaurant applauded. Emily laughed through her tears, happier than she ever imagined possible. But of course, announcing the engagement brought a new wave of reactions. Emily's mother called, furious again. "You're going to marry him, the janitor." Margaret was hysterical. "Emily, this is ridiculous. I won't support this." "Then don't," Emily replied calmly. "But I'm going to marry Michael anyway, with or without your blessing." "Your father must be rolling in his grave." Margaret played the card she knew would hurt. "My father raised me to be happy," Emily retorted, "and Michael makes me happy. End of discussion." She hung up on her mother, shaking with anger, but also with determination. She wouldn't let anyone, not even Margaret, ruin her happiness. The company board had mixed reactions too. Some genuinely congratulated her. Others made nasty comments disguised as concern. "Are you sure he's not with you for the money?" one of the older members asked during a meeting. "Absolutely," Emily answered. Michael refused my financial help until he couldn't anymore. He's with me because he loves me, not for what I have. But the social difference? Another began. It doesn't matter. Emily cut in. And if anyone here has a problem with my personal choices, they can leave the board. My private life doesn't affect my work. There was a tense silence. Finally, Henry clapped. Well said, he smiled. And for those who were worried, I've already met Michael. He's a good man. Emily chose well. That broke the ice. The meeting moved forward, but Emily knew the gossip would continue. She would have to prove that her choice didn't affect her professionalism, and she did. In the following months, she worked harder than ever, but in a sustainable way. She delegated, trusted her team, but was present in all important decisions. The company thrived under her balanced management. In parallel, she planned the wedding with Michael. They wanted something small, intimate, only people who truly mattered, but even that became a debate. You have to have a big wedding, Patricia insisted. Show everyone you're not ashamed. But I don't want a big wedding, Emily argued. I want something special with the people we love. Then do it that way, Patricia gave in. But at least let me organize everything properly. Emily agreed. Patricia threw herself into planning, creating something simple but elegant. It would be in a garden decorated with white flowers, only 50 guests. The girls would be flower girls. They were ecstatic about the idea, trying on dresses and rehearsing how to walk with the petals. Emily watched them and felt her heart overflowing with love. A week before the wedding, Margaret showed up at Emily's apartment unannounced. She was different, less haughty, almost humble. "Can we talk?" she asked. Emily let her in, cautious. They sat in the living room, an uncomfortable silence between them. "I came to apologize," Margaret finally said. "For everything. For the horrible things I said, for the lack of support, for being a terrible mother." Emily was shocked. Margaret never apologized for anything. "What changed?" she asked. "I talked to Henry," Margaret explained. "He told me everything that happened with Brandon, about how you saved the company all by yourself. And he made me realize that I failed both of you. I spoiled Brandon too much, demanded too much from you. And when you finally found happiness, I tried to take it away from you." Tears were streaming down Margaret's face now. "I don't want to lose you too," she said, her voice breaking. "I've already lost Brandon. I can't lose my daughter because of my stupid pride." Emily felt her anger melt away. Margaret wasn't perfect, never would be. But she was trying, she was opening up, and that counted. "You won't lose me, Mom," she said gently. "But you need to accept Michael. And the girls, they're going to be your granddaughters now." "I know," Margaret nodded. "And I'll try. I promise I'll try." They hugged, for the first time in years, a genuine hug, without barriers. When they parted, Margaret smiled through her tears. "So, can I come to the wedding?" "Of course you can," Emily smiled back. "I'd love for you to be there." The wedding day arrived sunny and perfect. Emily was nervous but radiant in a simple white lace dress. Emma and Lily wore light pink dresses and wouldn't stop twirling, enchanted. When it was time to walk to the makeshift altar in the garden, Emily looked around. Henry was there, smiling proudly. Patricia was crying. The neighbor who watched the girls waved, and Margaret, her mother, was in the front row trying to hold back tears. But what mattered was ahead. Michael, at the simple flower-decorated altar, wearing a modest but impeccable suit. His eyes shone with love when he saw her. Emily walked to him, Emma and Lily scattering petals ahead. When she reached the altar and took Michael's hands, she felt she was exactly where she was meant to be. The vows were simple, but moving. Michael promised to love her always, in good times and bad, in wealth and in poverty. Emily promised to be a faithful companion, a loving mother to their daughters, and a partner in all challenges. When the officiant declared them husband and wife, Michael kissed her with all the tenderness in the world, and Emily knew with absolute certainty that she had made the right choice. The celebration was joyful and relaxed. Live music, delicious food, people who truly cared. Emma and Lily stayed by Emily's side, calling her Mommy M for the first time. Every time she heard that word, Emily felt like crying with happiness. Margaret approached timidly at one point, asking to meet the girls. Emily introduced them and watched her mother kneel to speak at their level, being kind and charming. Emma and Lily accepted her immediately, as children do when they sense genuineness. "They're beautiful," Margaret told Emily later, her eyes misty. "You're going to be a wonderful mother." "Thank you, Mother." Emily hugged her. "That means a lot." The honeymoon was simple. They went to a beach in the Outer Banks, just the four of them. Michael had insisted on paying half, using savings he had been setting aside. Emily accepted, understanding that this was important to him. At the beach, they built sandcastles with the girls, swam in the waves, ate ice cream, and laughed until their stomachs hurt. It was pure happiness, not bought or forced, just genuine. One night after the girls had fallen asleep, Emily and Michael sat on the rented chalet's porch looking at the stars. "Happy?" he asked, holding her. "More than I thought possible," Emily answered honestly. "You gave me a family, Michael. You gave me a real home. You gave us the same." He kissed the top of her head. "And so much more." They returned from the trip refreshed, ready to face life together. Emily had decided to promote Michael within the company, not out of nepotism, but because he truly had the qualifications. She offered him a position in the Human Resources Department, working with employee well-being. Michael hesitated at first, worried about what people would say, but Emily was firm. "You have a degree in business administration. You have life experience that no one else there has. You understand the frontline employees in a way no executive can. You deserve this opportunity." Michael accepted and proved to be excellent in the role. He implemented changes that improved employee morale, created support and development programs. The company benefited immensely from his unique perspective, but not everything was perfect. Some resentful employees made comments about favoritism. Michael heard and absorbed them, trying not to let it affect him, but Emily saw the pain it caused. One day, she decided to address the issue head-on. She called a general meeting with all employees. "I know there are rumors about favoritism," she said directly. "About hiring my husband because he's my husband, so I'll clarify now. Michael Sullivan has a degree in business administration, years of experience in different sectors, and a valuable perspective on employee needs. He was hired on merit, not personal relationship, and anyone who has a problem with that can come speak to me directly." The silence that followed was absolute. No one dared to challenge her, and gradually, as Michael continued to do good work, the gossip subsided. 6 months after the wedding, Emma started at the new private school. She was nervous but excited. Emily and Michael took her on the first day, both more anxious than she was. "What if no one likes me?" Emma asked in the car. "They'll love you," Emily assured her. "You're smart, kind, and funny. How could they not like you?" And they were right. Emma adapted quickly, making friends and excelling academically. But she also learned, young as she was, about social differences. One day she came back from school upset. "Daddy, why aren't we rich?" she asked Michael. He was taken aback by the question. "Why do you ask that, sweetie?" "Because the girls at school keep talking about the expensive things they have, and we don't have those things," Emma explained. Michael and Emily exchanged worried looks. "Sweetie, come here." Michael pulled Emma onto his lap. "We might not have many expensive things, but we have what really matters. We have love, health, each other. Health, each. That's worth more than any expensive toy." "But they say I'm poor," Emma confessed, tears starting to fall. Emily felt anger burn inside her. How could children so young already be so cruel? "Emma, look at me." She knelt in front of the girl. "You're not defined by what you have or don't have. You're defined by what you do, how you treat people, how you use that amazing brain of yours. Those girls who call you poor, they'll never have the wealth you have in love and family." "Really?" Emma sniffled. "Really?" Emily wiped her tears. "And if they keep bothering you, we'll deal with it with the school. Bullying is not acceptable." Emma hugged Emily tightly. "I love you, Mommy M." Emily felt her heart melt. Emma had started calling her mommy after the wedding, but it still moved her every time. "I love you too, my love." But the incident left Michael shaken. That night, after the girls were asleep, he opened up to Emily. "Maybe we should take her out of that school," he suggested. "She doesn't need to go through that." "Michael, no," Emily argued. "She loves the school. She's learning so much. We can't let a few mean kids ruin that." "But she's suffering," Michael was distressed. "And we're going to help her get through it." Emily held his hands. "It'll teach her to be strong, not to let other people's opinions define her, just like you do." Michael knew she was right, but it still hurt. They spoke with the school, which took action against the bullying. Emma learned to respond with dignity when teased, to focus on her true friendships. Meanwhile, something unexpected happened. Lily, the youngest, began showing interest in music. Emily took her to piano lessons, and the girl revealed a natural talent. Within a few months, she was playing complex pieces with ease. "She could be a real pianist," the teacher commented. "With proper training, she could have a professional career." Emily and Michael invested in it, buying a piano for the house, paying for the best lessons. Lily flourished, happy and talented. A year and a half after the wedding, Emily started feeling morning sickness. At first she thought it was stress, but when the symptoms persisted, she took a pregnancy test. Positive. She stared at the test for long minutes, processing it. She was pregnant. At 34 years old, when she thought she would never be a biological mother, she was pregnant. She told Michael that night, showing him the test with trembling hands. We're going to have a baby." Michael was in shock for a moment, then exploded with joy. He picked Emily up, spinning her around while laughing and crying at the same time. "We're going to have a baby," he repeated, ecstatic. Emma and Lily were just as excited. They immediately started planning what the baby's room would be like, what toys to buy, what names to choose. The pregnancy was smooth. Emily worked until the 7th month, then took leave. She spent the last months at home, enjoying every moment with the girls, preparing for the arrival of the new family member. Margaret, who had become more present in their lives, was radiant at the prospect of another grandchild. She visited often, helping with the preparations, reconnecting with Emily in a way that hadn't happened since her childhood. The baby was born on a spring afternoon. A healthy boy with light eyes and red hair like his father. They named him Ethan in honor of Emily's father. When Michael held his son for the first time, he cried openly. Emily watched him from the hospital bed, exhausted but happy, seeing the man she loved embrace their child. Emma and Lily met their brother the next day. They insisted on helping with everything, giving him bottles, changing diapers under supervision, singing him to sleep. "We have a real family now," Emma commented, holding Ethan's tiny hand. "We always had a real family," Emily gently corrected. "But now the family has grown." The first months with Ethan were challenging. Sleepless nights, constant worries, routine adjustments. But they were also magical. Seeing Michael as a newborn father again, now more experienced and even more dedicated, watching the girls become loving older sisters, it was everything Emily never knew she wanted. The company continued to thrive under the shared management of Emily and her trusted team. She had learned to delegate, to trust, to balance work and family in a healthy way. Her health improved drastically, the fainting spells becoming a distant memory. 2 years after Ethan's birth, during Lily's 6th birthday party, Emily looked around and felt overwhelming gratitude. Michael was playing with Ethan on his lap, while Emma organized a game for the children. Margaret was helping in the kitchen, laughing with Patricia. Henry was chatting with some of the girls' classmates' parents. It was her family. Not traditional, not perfect, but hers. And it was more than enough. Michael approached, sitting beside her. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "About how everything has changed." Emily rested her head on his shoulder. "Remember that rainy night, when I fainted and you stopped to help?" "I remember," Michael smiled. "You were so scared, so vulnerable, so different from the strong woman you pretended to be." "I wasn't pretending," Emily protested. "I was weak pretending to be strong. Now I'm truly strong because I have you all. We're strong together," Michael kissed her softly. "And we'll keep being that way, no matter what comes." And it truly didn't matter. Over the following years, they faced various challenges. Emma had normal teenage difficulties. Lily struggled with performance anxiety in music. Ethan had problems at school. The company went through economic crises, but they always overcame them together. As a family, as partners, as a team, Emily never fainted again. Her health remained stable. Her heart strengthened not just by medication, but by the love that now filled her life. Michael grew professionally, eventually becoming the director of human resources, proving that talent and dedication matter more than origins or connections. The girls grew into strong and compassionate women. Emma became a doctor, dedicating herself to helping underprivileged communities. Lily pursued a musical career, performing in renowned orchestras. Ethan, the youngest, was still finding his path, but had the unconditional support of his family. Margaret became the present grandmother she had never been as a mother, redeeming herself through her love for her granddaughters and grandson. And Emily and Michael? They remained in love, true partners in everything. They proved that love transcends social classes, prejudices, and differences. That family is what you build, not necessarily what you're born into. 20 years after that rainy night, Emily was at Lily's performance in a prestigious concert hall. Her daughter was playing Chopin masterfully. Beside her, Michael held her hand, pride written all over his face. Emma was in the audience with her husband and 2 children. Ethan was there with his girlfriend. Margaret, now older but still present, occupied the seat of honor. When Lily finished the play, the audience erupted in applause. She bowed gracefully, then searched for her family with her eyes. When she found them, she blew a kiss. Emily felt tears streaming down, tears of gratitude, of fulfillment, of pure love. "Are you crying?" Michael whispered, wiping away her tears. "I'm happy," Emily replied. "Incredibly, absolutely happy." And it was true. Against all odds, against all prejudices, she had found not just love, but purpose. Not just family, but home. Not just life, but meaning. That rainy night, when she fainted on the sidewalk, scared and alone, seemed like another life. A life empty of everything that truly mattered. Now surrounded by love, by family, by purpose, Emily finally understood what it meant to be truly alive. End of story. So what did you think of this journey? Emily and Michael showed that true love knows no social barriers. Tell us in the comments, do you believe they made the right decisions? Leave your like, subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories like this one, and share with those who need to believe that love transforms.